Normalizing charging.
Welcome and namaste all of you. I'd like to welcome Miss Sunaina Arya from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. My greetings to all the participants who have been watching YouTube live. I am Bishwakarma. I'm currently involved in research at the University of Sydney and teaching at the Australian College of Applied Psychology. I've been contributing to the contemporary Dalit movement in Nepal through articles, research, and publication. I have also published a book entitled Political Transformation in Nepal, Dalit Inequality and Social Justice from Routledge, UK in 2019. This webinar series has been conducting by the Services for Research and Development Institute, Australia. This is an institute established to support development through research-based services. These webinar series are part of social policy of this institute. After this discussion, we also intend to prepare policy briefs, including to publish a book. Today, we are discussing on the issue of Dalit feminist theory. Feminism is both an intellectual commitment and a political movement that seeks justice for women and the end of sexism in all forms. Motivated by the quest for social justice, feminist inquiry provides a wide range of perspectives on social, cultural, economic, and political phenomena. Feminist philosophical scholarship begins with attention to women, to their roles and locations. What are women doing? What social political locations are they part of or excluded from? How do their activities compare to those of men? Are the activities or exclusion of some groups of women different from those of other groups, and why? And many more questions. As you all know that the women are suppressed by the patriarchal society globally and more specifically in South Asia. The caste and patriarchy intersect to each other and is indeed deeply embedded in social structure. The unique feature of patriarchal society in South Asia is Brahmanical patriarchy. The implication of Brahmanical patriarchy is prevalent in India and Nepal as compared to other states. The patriarchal tradition and social norms and values exploits the basic human rights of women. Dalit women indeed face threefold discrimination, being Dalit, Dalit women, and women in society. In this context, today we are going to explore the feminist theoretical perspective, specifically underlying factors of Dalit women and their exploitation, and key essence of feminist theory to resolve the problems faced by Dalit women. In aiding on this discourse, today we have Ms. Sunaina Arya from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and she is presenting on Dalit feminist theory. Sunaina Arya is co-editor of Dalit Feminist Theory, or reader, with Akash Singh Rathore, published by Routledge in 2020, and senior research fellow at the Center for Philosophy from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, completing a dissertation on feminist philosophy from a Dalit perspective. She earned her MPhil and MA from the same center. She received an honorable mention in the Bluestone Rising Scholar Prize in 2019 by the Heller School of Social Policy and Management, Brandeis University, Massachusetts. She is a founding member of Global Dalit Changemakers, an initiative of the India-China Institute, the New School, New York City. Her area of research includes social and political philosophy of B.R. Ambedkar, philosophy and psychology, and the philosophy of social sciences. Her recent publications include Dalit or Brahmanical Patriarchy, Rethinking Indian Feminism in 2020. She is currently co-editing a gender special issue of Caste, a global journal on social exclusion published by Brandeis University, USA. Now let's welcome Ms. Sunaina Arya for today's discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Vishwakarma. Thank you for organizing this webinar, and I'm honored to be a participant here. And I thank all the participants and who are my colleagues, friends, and also scholars and activists, whoever has joined the webinar. I welcome you all and thank you so much. And especially Professor Vandana Sonalkar and Professor Ashok Gurung, they have also joined it. So thank you very much. Um, in the presentation, I would want to make this argument that feminism in India, the way it is being theorized, would have been efficient had we have to deal with patriarchy as a problem isolated from other socio cultural economic inequalities. So as Dr. Bishwakarma mentioned, that patriarchy in South Asia is not only a problem of gender, but also it is deeply interlinked with the problem of caste. So that is why I would like to walk you all through few of the points which I have put in slides, and then we can discuss further. Uh, yeah, yeah. So as we all know, that this is the Hindu social order in caste-based societies like India and Nepal and other similar societies. And we are indebted to Dr. Ambedkar's scholarship on caste, uh, through which we understand that how this system is, intact. So we know that Brahmins are put at the top, and then Kshatriyas and Vaishyas and Shudras, and then the Dalits or untouchables or outcasted people have. Okay. Dr. Vishwakarma, should we circulate it or later, as we got in the chat?
We can send later.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So the South Asian society is organized around caste, and this caste system gives a status of privilege or deprivation to each of its members. Like we see that Brahmins are at the top, but so this organization ensures that the person gets a particular status based on their caste first and then gender. So first a Brahmin man, then a Brahmin woman or non-men, and then Kshatriya men, and then Kshatriya woman and non-men. And similarly, it keeps on, degrading the people who are at the bottom of this system. Um, so can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So in India, the constitution has been established in 1950, assigning equal rights and dignity to each and every member of the society. But yet we see even today, as in the next slide, that uh, can you please go to the next slide, please? No, the one before this one. Thanks. Yeah. So even after 70 years after independence in India, still the traditional jobs for Dalits, as in like most the toilet cleaners and manual scavenging people and people who are working to clean after the body in post-mortem settings, they are also Dalits. As we see, Professor Y.S. Alone's research shows that. So we see that how even 70 years after independence, the jobs which Dalit people are doing are linked with their traditional jobs as assigned to them by the Brahmanical system, and because of which we see uh, many of the atrocities against Dalits. Can we please go to next, Dr. Mohan? Yeah. So as per National Crime Records Bureau, 43,203 crimes against Dalits were reported in 2017, and we know that many of the cases are actually not reported. So this is the situation, and now we have to see that why this system of caste is so strong and functions always in this way in all aspects of our life: socio economic, cultural, even political. So that is what we have learned from the scholarship of Dr. Ambedkar, which he discussed in Caste in India. Can we please move to the next one? Yeah, Brahmanical patriarchy. So this is the key concept to understand how caste is linked with gender. So as we can, so we don't, all of us don't need to read whatever is written over here. uh, so I'm explaining it. So patriarchy in South Asia is Brahmanical. Why? Because originally patriarchy, that is controlling woman's sexuality, was the base to maintain the caste hierarchy, and that is why women come to be the oppressed and degraded people in our communities, in our part of the world. So there were three rituals and means to control women's sexuality in order to maintain the numeric balance of each community, caste community. Like, if somebody from Brahmin community, husband, a husband passes away, so then a woman would be his wife, or a person who is her, yeah, the person who married to her will become an extra person in that particular community, and then that extra person might go to another community person to marry, and that is why they have invented sati. So sati, where a woman has to be burnt after the husband is deceased. And sati had been so prevalent in India that even last case has been reported in 2015, and there was a suspected case in 2017 also. So, and still there are so many temples like Sati Anusuya and Sati other temples where people revere this kind of tradition, and this the woman who had been Sati earlier, they are being worshipped even today. So that is the status of sati now. And enforced widowhood was another mechanism to maintain the caste balance, because sati was very difficult, because not every woman would be willing to die, or not every woman can be forced to die. And also, as people started communicating with other communities, they also tried to learn that the value of their life. So they would not just go and die for their husband, they would also want to live uh, for some other reasons. So widowhood, enforced widowhood was a ritual where the woman who's widowed had to shave her hair or live in such a way, like wear only white and not being participant in any kind of uh, festivals or marriages or such functions, because they are regarded as impure. And also they have been forced to live in such a manner that no man can find them attractive, so there would be no chance left for them to remarry to another person out of their caste. So these two rituals were invented to resolve the problem when the husband dies. But what about the situation when the woman dies? So for the situation when woman dies, the is uh, man is an extra person who can look forward to marry somebody from out of the caste. That is why child marriage had been invented. In the child marriage, so child marriage, because the woman who's of lower age will have will have different so because, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So child marriage was invented because the woman has to be from the same caste. So age has been compromised, and that is why child marriage. So, uh, in order to maintain that balance. So, and this practice of sati and widowhood initially was actually reserved for Brahmin and Kshatriya woman. But lately, with the imitation of the Brahmanical understanding and Brahmanical worldview in the other communities, these had extended to other communities as well historically. Can we please move to the next slide? Yeah. So we see that patriarchy is gender inequality, but as I mentioned in the beginning, in South Asia, it is not just gender but also caste interlinked. We can see this from the example of honor killing, that when a couple is being murdered by local authorities or parents or other guardians, uh, in the case of honor killing, they are killed not only because of choosing their partners by their own, but also because they choose their partner defying the caste norms. Like, most of the cases of honor killing are about intercaste marriage. So we can see that this is not only a gender problem but also a caste problem. And then survey reports exhibit a dominant linkage between the caste determined professions and violence against women involved in them, as we have seen in National Federation of Dalit Women, National Campaign for Dalit Human Rights, Sharmila Rege's works. And we can also see it from these lines from Sarupa Rani. When has my life been truly mine? In the home, male arrogance sets my cheek stinging, while in the street, caste arrogance splits the other cheek open. So this is true about almost every Dalit woman, that when she goes out of her house, then she has to face caste arrogance, caste-based violence and discrimination or exploitation, and in the home, patriarchy, like within her own community and also with other community men. So the second two lines register the phenomena of patriarchy, manifest as violence, and the first, the next lines signify caste arrogance. That is called Brahmanism. So it is so deeply rooted that um it sort of controls the life of a Dalit woman, which we can see in the next slide. Yeah. So so caste and sex work. So there is a major debate about sex work between the mainstream Indian feminists and Dalit feminists. So the mainstream Indian feminists argue that sex work is also like another profession which is chosen by the women who are involved in it, while Dalit feminists say that actually the socio-economic conditions put Dalit women into that situation where they have no other option than going into sex work. So this this is a historical fact which was there, which is ignored in the mainstream articulation of feminism, that Devdasi, Jogitini and Murali like practices were there in India. And even lately after independence in 2010s, there was a case about Devdasi which had been actually banned much earlier by the British government in India, but still people revere this, and it was practiced till late 2010s. And what is there in this practice is uh, young women, girls from Dalit communities were sent to the temples as told by the priest that they are the chosen ones to their family and guardians, and that is how nobody opposed. They thought that this will help them getting spiritual revelation or more connection to the god. So that is why they send their young daughters to the pre temples, and they used to clean after the temple, take care of everything, and used to cook for the priest, and those kind of work they were doing, maintaining the temple work. And also they had been sexually exploited by the priest. So as we can see in the other image, which is a sketch made by artist, Ambedkarite artist called Savi Savarkar, which is also on my book, this cover. So these women who are put into this system, which is very inhuman for them, they don't find a way to get over of this kind of lifestyle, and that's why they end up into prostitution, because those women are not accepted by the society, because they had already been sexually exploited. So they end up getting into prostitution. And this cover, the diagram, the sketch shown by Savi Savarkar represents that how a Dalit woman's life is sort of controlled by the Brahmanical system, where she has been uh, she has aborted many times, and that is why those stretch marks on her stomach, and also looking very sad, and crow as a sign of sadness and bad luck. It represents that how a Dalit woman's life is completely determined and controlled by the Brahmanical system through these practices of Devdasi, Joktani, Murli. And this is a historical fact which we need to consider when we are debating about or arguing about sex work. So this word called sex work is actually also not, in this case, is not like a work, because nobody would actually go for sex work when they get a profession where they can also avail money as well as dignity. So because they don't get money, and also no dignity in other kinds of job which they do as household workers, or laborers or vendors, that is why they go for sex work in order to fulfill their economic needs, financial needs for their house. So this aspect is completely missed out by the mainstream articulation, which Dalit feminists consider. Can we please go to the next one? And because Brahmanical patriarchy has been so interlinked with caste and gender and class and other issues, that is why what we need is an intersectional perspective in theorizing gender. So intersectionality has been introduced, invented by Kimberly Crenshaw, black feminist. She's also a contributor to this reader, Dalit Feminist Theory. So this is an a critical framework which analyze the multiple aspects of minority identities. So as we can see that the experience of men is different than those of women. Similarly, the experience of women is different than those of Dalit women. So in the intersectionality, what happens is we don't only focus on single axis framework, that is of gender, which is the main lacuna in mainstream articulation of Indian feminism. They say that mainstream feminists, who are mostly caste and class privileged women, they argue that at one point of time a person is either a Dalit or a woman. But in cases like honor killing, and in cases like uh, sexual atrocity against Dalit women, in cases like Bhavari Devi, Bhavari Devi is a very important case in Indian judicial system, which was a gang rape case in 1992, where the Dalit woman had been gang raped by five men of the same family. Like those men were upper caste men, so-called upper caste, and they had raped her in order to show her, uh, in order to put her down because she was campaigning against child marriage in that region. So, had she been a man, she might not have been raped. Or has she been a Savarna woman, she might not have been, regarded as very accessible or an easy target for the Savarna men. Or even the idea of respect for Dalit women are not regarded respected in the society, and that is the aspect which we need to consider, and only intersectionality can help us see a problem or a case through overall, uh, considering overall aspects of it, all elements involved. So as Kimberly Crenshaw writes, if we aren't intersectional, some of us, the most vulnerable, are going to fall through the cracks. So that's what is the problem with the mainstream Indian theorizing. So now can we please go to the next one? Yeah, so these are basically few of the problems which I have discussed in the introduction of this book, that is Indian feminism versus Dalit woman. So there have been claims that contemporary theory of gender is not possible because the category woman cannot be homogenized in Indian context. So the category of woman cannot be homogenized because women are not only women, they are also Dalit, they are also Muslim, they are also rural women, they are also poor women, there are also women who are involved in sex work, so-called sex work, which is also called by some of my friends as religious prostitution, because religion gives them that kind of status where they end up into prostitution. So the women are not only women. So this standpoint offers a kind of pessimistic approach towards theorizing gender. So this is one of the problem, that we need to theorize even when women cannot be homogenized. We need to theorize, and there is a way which is led by intersectional approach. Second problem is the problem of intersectionality. Like the concept intersectionality is accepted by the mainstream Indian feminists in the broader context of their being located in the third world, as in, like, in South Asia, which is different from the Europe and US. But and also because of the race, that we are not whites or blacks or Latin, but we are South Asian people. So based on these two differences, they accept intersectionality, but at the same time they reject intersectionality for the internal differences within the South Asian woman, that is of caste. So so it has been decolonized at international level, but it has to be decolonized at national level, like as I see it in Indian feminism. So this is one another problem which is very ironic. And and, and then other problem is, since the caste privileged feminists have been at the forefront to debate and represent all women's issues in India, there have been widespread inclination towards taking the feminist thesis as their premise and abandon women's relation to caste, as we discussed it a while ago, that women's problem is a sole problem in isolation with women's relation with caste or other issues. Can we please move to the next one? Yeah, so while patriarchy in India is Brahmanical, Indian feminism is particularistic. As I mentioned in the beginning, like, if patriarchy had been a problem which stood in isolation from other socio-economic and cultural inequities, the mainstream Indian feminist theorizing would have been sufficient. But as in no society, our society also, in our society as well, in the patriarchy is deeply linked with caste, as it is linked with race and color in the so-called Western world. So so that is how the mainstream theorizing leaves the caste issue as the sole burden of Dalit women. So they claim to speak for everybody, but at the same time, they don't put efforts to recognize the role of caste into a gender-based exploitation with women. So, in fact, Sharmila Rege had mentioned that she argues that no politics committed to caste-based society can overlook sexual politics. It is therefore important to revision it rather than give it up or post the upper caste woman alone as the only needy constituents of such a politics. So this is a critique of feminism in Indian context, that women who are caste class privileged, they argue in such a way that the problem of patriarchy could be resolved only for them, but not for those women who are at a lower status in the same community. So that is one criticism. But being feminist, it is our responsibility to argue and work and articulate or theorize in such a way that we can, help to deliver justice to each and every woman and non-men of the society, not only the women who are already caste or class privileged. So can we please move to the next one? That is why we use intersectional perspective to establish this concept called Dalit difference. Difference has been difference has been theorized by Patricia Hill Collins, another black feminist philosopher, using intersectional approach, uh, which was invented by Kimberly Crenshaw. I am using their scholarship to establish Dalit difference. So Dalit difference can be understood as the unique kind of discriminatory aspect which Dalit women face at the intersection of caste, class, gender deprivations. And when we use intersectional method, then we will also add other issues, like if the woman is from the rural area, or if the woman is also a disabled person, or uh, other kind of, inequities and other kind of deprivation. So that is why we need intersectional perspective in theorizing gender, and maintaining Dalit difference at the core of feminist enterprise is crucial from feminism in India to resolve patriarchy, because patriarchy is Brahmanical. So Dalit feminism is a feminism which recognizes difference, this concept, difference, that we are, Dalit woman is different from other women, and that difference has to be recognized, acknowledged, and well articulated. So that difference is also not about addition of the burdens, like a Dalit woman suffers caste problem and the gender problem and the class problem, but we have to see it into at the intersectional point of her identity and her location in the society, that she, it is not only addition of different kind of, deprivations, but at that point when a person is put at that juncture, then her experience of exploitation, her experience of vulnerability, and her position as a deprived, marginalized, exploited person will be different, which will be unique, which other people will not be able to see. So that is why the difference and Dalit difference. So feminism is a feminism which recognizes difference, appreciates intersectionality, is logically coherent and universal, that is for all. So Dalit feminist theory is an answer to Brahmanical patriarchy, bearing the epistemic wantage to consummate the feminist philosophy. So we also need to remember that Dalit feminism is not a feminism of the Dalits or for the Dalits or by the Dalits. Dalit feminism is simply a standpoint where we keep the caste question at the center of our gender articulation or gender theorizing, because caste is at the center of gender based exploitation in South Asian context, as we have learned from Dr. Ambedkar's analysis of graded inequality, Brahmanical patriarchy, and how caste is linked with gender. And that system is so deeply rooted that even if the practices like sati, widowhood, and child marriage, well, child marriage is still practiced at many of the rural places, even in my own village. But even when these practices are not, you know, maintained now, still this system of degrading Dalit women, degrading Dalit people, and degrading everybody who's under you in the hierarchical system. So that is why we need to consider the caste question at the center, and that would be a Dalit feminist perspective. And that can be that can be done by anybody. It doesn't have to be a Dalit person to theorize Dalit feminism, but because most of the non-Dalit people lack a kind of commitment because they are not the stakeholders. So, and also it is about giving up some kind of privileges. That is why we have to be really cautious about it. While Sharmila Rege was a Brahmin woman, but she had articulated Ambedkar feminism. So, but then I like, it is very difficult to find somebody like Sharmila Rege. So we also need Dalit lived experience in order to theorize uh, Dalit feminism or feminism. Many of the confusions among people in my own university, JNU, is that Dalit feminism is an answer to Dalit patriarchy. Not at all. That is very misconstrued understanding. Dalit feminism is an answer to Dalit feminism is an answer to Brahmanical patriarchy. Because patriarchy is Brahmanical, that is why we need a Dalit feminist standpoint. Had patriarchy been in an isolation, which doesn't happen in any of the world, then mere feminism would have worked, uh, which doesn't recognize other socio-economic differences. So that's how Dalit difference is being conceived in the introduction of this book, and also I am looking forward to develop it in my research. Can we please move to the next slide? Yeah, so towards our Dalit feminist theory. So this is one Dalit feminist theory, and through this work, I am hopeful that more people will come and contribute and establish Dalit feminist theory as a discipline. And also so many scholarship will be developed on this, because very less scholarship has been there on Dalit feminism. And like in the mainstream academia it has been there, but it has also been ignored and suppressed. So with this work, I hope that many more works will come with more force and power, and a collective voice of Dalit women especially will be heard. So in this book, I would just want to mention that the contributors are like Uma Chakravarti, Kimberly Crenshaw, Vigita, Gopal Guru, Kanchana Mahadevan, Mary E. John, Nivedita Menon, Tejaswini Niranjana, Shailaja Paik, Smita M. Patil, Sharmila Rege, Vandana Sonalkar, Julie Stephens, Suzy Tharu, Meena Gopal, and JG Lee, JP Mangu Bhai. These are the contributors, and the book has been organized in 6 parts. So the 6 parts are like, as I have discussed, some of it I have already discussed in the previous slides. That the 6 parts are: first is Indian feminism versus Dalit feminism, where Nivedita Menon, Suzy Tharu, Tejaswini Niranjana, Gopal Guru, Uma Chakravarti, V. Geeta, they are like, their standpoints have been put together as with the debate on intersectionality mostly. And then second part discusses predecessors of Dalit feminism, that how Phule Ambedkarite feminism gave Dalit women a different kind of a strong agency, which they didn't have earlier, and through which Dalit women continue to thrive in future. So the contributions are from Shailja Paik, Vandana Sonalkar, and Sharmila Rege. Then third part is about lived experience as difference. Lived experience as difference is Dalit lived experience. So um, there is a discussion about how the violence against women is Brahmanical in nature, and how epics and aesthetics have been contributing to vilify Dalit women, like Shurpanakha and other kind of, Kataka, Tataka, these kind of images of Dalit women have been put in the epics so that people can believe into the philosophical justification of Dalit women's degradation. And then there is also on a work on Dalit women's autobiographies. Then part 4 discusses what, like the Dalit difference mostly. There is one difference through intersectionality by Kimberly Crenshaw, then Gopal Guru's work, and then Dalit difference. And then part fifth is on intersectionality in India, like why we need intersectionality in Indian context, and that can be used in South Asian context too, because our society is deeply organized and structured around caste. So this is about the Dalit woman question and why it is necessary. And part 6 of the book is about towards a Dalit feminist theory, like how do we theorize Dalit feminism. So Julie Stephens, Smita M. Patil, Kanchana Mahadevan contribute in this. So this is about how, why what are other problems which are not recognized as yet in the mainstream Indian feminist articulations. And actually I would want to mention that there is one thing found, some things found in mainstream Indian feminist articulations which is very problematic, and that is othering of Dalit feminism. Like predecessors of Dalit feminism, there was Phule Ambedkar and Dalit Women's Agency, and also there had been work, uh, autobiographies, and many of the other works also there has been there in many in Marathi language, in other South Asian, sorry, South Indian languages, but they have been ignored and othered by calling them mere stories, uh, narratives, native narrations, and stories, and poetry, works of literature, but not as scholarly or theoretical work. So these are the kinds of wordings being used by the mainstream feminist for the Dalit feminist. They also use things words like feminism and other politics. So no, feminism does not include the caste question. That is very clear. But also, when somebody is speaking about the caste question, then it becomes an other politics. That kind of wordings have been used, and also uh, there are two modes of addressing the Dalit woman's problem, which is mentioned in Sharmila Rege's work. That is feminist as tourist model, like where Savarna women go to the Dalit women's places and ask for their interviews and collect their data, and they just go as a tourist, and they just want to, they have this paternalistic paternalistic take on them, that okay, we know how is it to live life, and we will help you get civilized, we will help you get justice, we will help you in that way, not being equal with them. And second of the issue is feminist as explorer model. That model is okay, we go there and they are different and, like, very exotic, so it is exotic the way they are living and all, but actually not really in the mainstream. So mainstream is already in their head, which is their own lives, but all else is at the periphery. So that is some of the way they are taking and considering or including Dalit feminism out of the feminism. So including, but with the othering kind of attitude. So that is one problem which is discussed in chapter 16. And uh, then how can we revitalize Dalit feminism? Like earlier it has been there and in present context, and how can we articulate and theorize in such a manner that we can hope to have a better articulation, better theory, and better system for justice or policy. And then last chapter is about Dalit woman's experience toward a Dalit feminist theory. So this last chapter of this book actually establishes that Dalit woman's experience is a necessity in order to theorize Dalit feminist theory. Why? Because lived experience plays a vital role in any theorizing, and lived experience has been othered and suppressed by the mainstream academics. One reason might also be because they don't have that experience, but they know the value of it. That is why they collect data and take interviews. So but lived experience has to be theorized from a Dalit feminist perspective and not from the mainstream feminist perspective. So that is what is there in the last chapter. So I hope I have spoken clearly, and we can take questions, and maybe in that I would want to clarify some of the things which you might think I didn't deliver clearly, and also some of the things which I couldn't speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ms. Sunaina Arya, for your comprehensive empirical-based analysis and presentation on Dalit feminist theory. Um, yeah, as you have highlighted the examples from India, that how deeply the Brahminical patriarchy is interlinked with the caste system in India society, which is somehow linked to, not only somehow, it's completely linked to Nepalese society as well. Yeah, so you have noted so many examples, and even you have argued that the Dalit feminists should maintain the difference. This is one of your important argument from your presentation. Um, in terms of intersectional perspective, which is, as you have mentioned, the critical framework to analyze the aspects of minority identities. This is very important to note here. And the example you have given in terms of sati system and widowhood system in Indian society is somehow shocking, because sati system has been already abolished from Nepal, and I guess there are no such examples or no such evidences or incidences happening in Nepal. Um, um, Now, I don't want to go in detail in terms of your presentation. We have one young scholar, Dalit scholar from Nepal. She is Sushma Chinal. If she is here, I would like to request Sushma Chinal to provide or short remarks or comment on the presentation. Sushmaji, are you there?
Sushma is not here, so far I understand, because she went somewhere in reporting the gang rape happened in western part of the Nepal, and she
Oh,
mentioned
okay.
like that, and she's engaged in documenting the different cases. It's
Okay,
very
that's fine.
unfortunate to share, but she's engaged there.
That's okay. Then we have Member of Parliament Kalpana Nepali. If she is here, then I'd like to request to um, say a few words. Maybe she is also not there. Okay, I guess she is also not there. If any participants would like to say a few remarks on this aspect of Dalit feminist theory, then you are
I
more
have
than
one
welcome.
question.
Okay.
I have.
You can go ahead.
Oh, please. Thank you, Sunaina, for nice presentation. I am Nirmal Bishwakarma. Uh, Particularly in this time, I am reviewing the work of different countries regarding feminism, particularly focusing on Dalit feminism. And I am trying to write a book on Dalit feminism in the context of Nepal. And
Wonderful.
in this period, I have reviewed many books written by, or many literature written by Indian scholars, particularly Parvi Mahato, Uma Chakravarti, Sharmila Rege, N.S. Savalkar, Savarwal, Bandana Sonalkar, Kiran Singh. I have reviewed, I think, almost all of the book or article written by them. I reviewed in this period, and I got opportunity through this presentation that I will also review the work of you. And from the review, I found that in India there is a very nice work regarding the Dalit feminism. Theorizing the Dalit feminism in India, particularly after 1990. But in Nepal, we have no or very practical theory. Or in Nepal, we have a very limited work have been done on intersectionality issues, gender intersectionality issues. And Nepalese feminism doesn't address caste issue. I found that, but in India, you have done very good work regarding the Dalit feminism, particularly after 1990s.
Yeah.
And I also request our Nepali sister or Nepali scholar, please work on Dalit feminism in Nepal, because we have not done so far. We have not started so far any work regarding the Dalit feminism in Nepal. And regarding Sunaina's presentation, it is very nice, and you presented very well about the intersectionality issues, particularly focusing on the caste issue and gender issues. You said that you said that Brahminical patriarchy, as well as you said patriarchy issues. But I found very little about yes, it is a issue of caste and it is an issue of gender, but I found very uh, uh, little about capitalism issues. It is like a yes,
Mm.
the problem of Dalit women is uh, Brahminical patriarchy and patriarchy, as well as capitalistic patriarchy or capitalistic patriarchal capitalistic Brahminical capitalistic patriarchy. So from your experience of your country, like in Maharashtra,
Mm.
Dalit women particularly focused on the close of dance bar, I think, in Maharashtra. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was not due to the uh, uh, only gender. No, it was not only due to the Brahminical patriarchy, but it was due to the capitalistic patriarchy, capitalistic Brahminical patriarchy. So I think I think you have experience on it, but you presented little here about how capitalistic system or capitalistic oak create the problem for Dalit women, capitalism side. One question is that how you could address the patriarchy and Dalit capitalism and Dalit women's issue. One question, and another question is that please uh, if you have uh, literature that you wrote on the Dalit women's issue, how I can get it. It will be very easy for you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Nirmal Bishwakarma. Um, Now I'd like to ask Sarita Pariyarji if you have any remarks or comments on the presentation. Saritaji?
Muted.
Unmute गर्नु होला.
Sorry. Thank you, Sunaina. First, I'm so sorry, since Darnall Award event is coming very soon, and we're about to launch the website today, so I was a little busy. But indeed, I can sense that what you have focused on, since you already shared key points with me yesterday. So just know that I'm very proud of you, and it's amazing to see young women like you are presenting about Dalit feminism. And indeed, it is one of the super important area that young upcoming scholars like you and us should be doing critical inquiry. And I think that's what you're doing. And I think I partly agree what our Nirmal Ji has mentioned. Indeed, we are working on it, and I think it is equally important why there has not been Dalit feminism, especially in Nepal. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but only the thing is, how do we interpret it, and how do we see the work by Dalit women, whether it's about um, there are so many there are so many Dalit women who have been writing for quite some time. But I think, do we really recognize it? Do we really acknowledge their work, right? So I think I partly agree with Nirmal Ji, but I completely don't agree, right? But we can definitely work on it. And this we have talked about in various occasions, even if Nepali Dalits and Indian Dalits, they have been working for quite some time. But indeed, there has not been substantive work the way I see in terms of doing collaboration. And some of the foundation, and there are a few other organizations as well who are working on it. So all I can say is, let's work together. And I think this is not the end, right? This is just the beginning. And I really want to say thank you to Momji, because he's doing great work, and I'm very much looking forward to reading his PhD thesis. And let's continue our conversation. And I just want to inform you all, please keep the date free for August 15th. We are going to invite amazing young scholars, and let's continue the debates. That's all I can say. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Sunaina.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saritaji, for your remarkable words and encouraging words to Sunaina's work. And I hope the scholar like you will focus on the Dalit feminist theory and Dalit feminist work in Nepal as well. Anyway, there are so many questions from participants. I'll take a few more questions, Sunaina, and then I'll give you space to respond to those questions. And there is one question from participant in the chat box from Krishna Godraj. He says that great sharing and absolute idea of theorizing Dalit feminism. And his curiosity is to know from you that what challenges do you see Dalit women and girls are facing to come at the same status with Dalit men and boys from patriarchal perspective? Would you happier to hear your perspective? I mean, you'll be happy to hear your perspective on that question. And there is one more question from Ganesh BK. He says that please share the Dalit women participation in political parties in India. So these are two questions in chat box. Would you like to respond to these questions now, and then we'll go for second round?
Yeah, as you say.
Okay.
I go now.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So thank you, Dr. Nirmal, for your questions. I I see your point, and actually I have considered it in the book. So it is there in the book, but I didn't speak right now. So I would like to say that the capitalist system also works in a way that mostly Dalit women are affected, because they come from those backgrounds which are more vulnerable and poor, and they are the ones who are mostly working as wage laborers or vendors. And on the debate on dance bar, that there also mainstream feminists are saying that okay, so dance bar is no problem, just that we have to incorporate some of the rules, new rules, or some kind of mechanism or policies where these women can be safe. But Dalit women are saying that it has to be closed because those women are degraded. But at the same time, their demand is crucial that these women should be rehabilitated, as in like they should be given different job opportunities. Because if we close all of a sudden the bars, then where these women will go? How about their family and their financial requirements? How will they be fulfilled? So that is how this capitalism also works in such a way that, as you mentioned, capitalist Brahmanical patriarchy. But and at the same time, if we regard capital in such a way which helps a Dalit woman to get opportunities and like opportunities and kind of space where she can put her voice or speak. I think that kind of, like capital is okay for Dalit people, like Ambedkar has also said, but capitalism is problematic because capitalism also functions in a way which enhances the Brahminical patriarchy and keeping the Dalit woman at the lowest strata again. So because they are the people who are mostly poor, and even now, even one that is true about it. And I think your second question is about patriarchy and Dalit woman. Yes, because patriarchy is there in the entire society, it is a universal problem. So Dalit women face patriarchy within their community as well as outside of the community. So outside of the community, the easy target and the easy prey kind of attitude is taken, and that they are not respected or not pure, or uh, like izzat. We use this izzat and honor. So what do we say that izzat hai in ye izzatdar log hain. So who are the izzatdar reputed people? Those people who are regarded as higher in the society. So in this context, similarly, Dalit people are not regarded as those who have the izzat, and izzat is also used for one's virginity, right? So izzat lut gayi hai, as in like sexuality of a woman, that she has been raped and has like, so izzat is honor is also related with her being sexually involved with somebody, like not involved, actually exploited by somebody. So that idea of izzat is also not considered in the context of Dalit woman, because they don't have izzat, so how their izzat will be gone? So that kind of understanding is there, which uh, which attacks Dalit woman at a deeper level. Though it is patriarchal thing, like rape is a patriarchal phenomena, but at the same time, this attitude of people about Dalit women makes it more brutal in their case. Just to mention now, um, for an example, so in the Bhavri Devi case, as I mentioned before, what had happened that she is a Dalit woman from rural Rajasthan, and she is actually still waiting for justice. 92. And because of her struggles, along with some NGOs, Vishakha guidelines had been introduced uh, quite late now. In 2015, actually, the sexual harassment at workplace new act had been passed, where women cannot be like sexually harassed at the workplace, and that will that would lead to penalties and punishments to the people who are harassing them. But what had happened in her case, like because of her struggle, every woman got this sexual harassment at workplace act, protection of sexual harassment in workplace, but she herself is still waiting for justice. So what happened there is that a court judge has said that she is unrapeable. Why? Because the difference between sexual intercourse and rape is about consent. That when the woman gives consent or a person gives consent, then it is regarded as a sexual act or intimacy, and when the person doesn't give consent, it is forced, then it is regarded as rape. But what happened that a court judge is saying that because she is a Dalit woman, she does not have the agency to give or withdraw the consent. So that is why she is unrapeable. So see that even in the judicial system, there are people like that who are so insensitive that they don't see that Dalit women are women like other women. So the complete denial of her agency. So that is how patriarchal problems and exploitation works in more brutal form against Dalit women. Though they of course face patriarchy from their own community and other community people as well. And regarding the question to Krishna ji about challenges for Dalit women and girls from the men of that community, men and boys. So yes, because patriarchy is there, that is why everybody is following patriarchy. Even women are patriarchal. So, and that happens in all the society. In our context, what happens is because like the white supremacy, in the same way, we have a kind of subconscious, or because it has been historically so much forced on our mind that brahmanical lifestyle is actually a good lifestyle. So that is why the idea of purity, the idea of pollution, and the idea of keeping women in the way and in the veils, those kinds of things are practiced in the non-Brahmin and non-Savarna families as well, because of the understanding of the Brahmanical lifestyle. And we can see that, in the TV series, in movies, everywhere, this is what is being spread all around, that this is the lifestyle which we all have to aspire to. And the Dalit lifestyle, is their culture is actually not worth living. There is some problem with their culture, like for example eating beef, eating non-veg, that kind of culture, and dancing together in the family, like the tribals, how they tribal culture, and these cultures are being looked down upon. And in the movies and everywhere, we only see mainstream culture, and that is why we all get affected by that, and we want to live our life according to that, because the entire narrative is about that lifestyle. So in the same way, patriarchy is also there in the Dalit communities, but that is not Dalit patriarchy. So I think here, if you say I can explain Dalit patriarchy, Dr. Moon, should
Um,
I explain
Please
Dalit
be
patriarchy?
brief because there are so many
Oh,
hand
sure.
raised by
Sure. So
other participants as well.
I think I have answered this then. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, can I ask Purna Nepaliji for your quick remarks or question?
No.
Purnaji?
Okay, thank you so much, Momji. Uh, for, uh, am I audible?
That's okay.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
just
hear
Yeah,
you.
it sounds good. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to just start my this video as well. Okay. Mm. Okay, I'm trying to speak without video. It's fine, right?
That's okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Sunaina, for your very scholarly contributions. I am very much impressed the way you did it. And when I met you in Newark, in one of the international workshop in Newark, in Global Change Maker, I noticed that you privileged this capacity. You really made it, and I am very much close to your work because for a long time, more than 5 years, I have worked as a gender officers and gender consultant in a different development related field. And during that time, I was interested to work more on the Dalit feminisms. And also, I heard a lot of things about the heterogeneity within the Dalit community, and I was trying to work more on that, and I conceptualized the research on heterogeneity because Dalit community in Nepal, they are not so homogeneous, and a lot of counter arguments and narrative I heard about that. And while conceptualizing that research, and I have gone through the number of literatures during that time, I found a lot of literatures, as you mentioned, about the Dalit feminisms and the different contribution made by the patriarchy and different black scholars. And during that time, I conceptualized my research through the intersectionality perspective. Even I have gone through the Karencha, and during that time, I have contributed this intersectionality and heterogeneity within the Dalit community through the intersectionality lens. And during that time, I contributed on the area of the caste and class, and still I'm working on the comparative analysis of race, caste, and class. I'm very much fortunate having my Harvard professor William Julius. He has contributed a lot in the field of the race and class. I do not have any comments and remarks because you made it and you contributed. I have learned a lot from you, and actually. I'm trying to make you, how can you expand your scholarships to a regional level, at the South Asian level? We intend to see you like a feminist scholars like Govinda Kelkar and Kamla Bhasin and Bina Agrawal. And also we're trying to contribute through your expertise and your scholarship and contributions. And you are at the very privileged place at JNU, that is very well-known center of excellence and think tank. How can you expand your network in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan? And South-South collaboration is a very important. And also I was trying to bring the Nepalese scholars, and also unfortunately we could not do when we are discussing with the Momji. And what is your plan to have to expand your access at the regional level, South-South collaboration as well? Also, you have a very privileged network. You are associated with the Brandeis universities, you are associated with the new schools, and North-South collaboration is also important in Dalit feminist scholarship. It is a very important area of contribution. You should expand beyond the India, and South-South collaboration and North-South collaboration is a very, very important. You have a privilege, and you are good in writing, and you're good in speaking. And how can you expand your network through exploiting the South-South collaboration and North-South collaboration? This is my concern and queries to you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Puna Nepaliji, for your encouraging remarks and appreciation as well. Now we have Dr. Ashok Gurung from New School. So I would like to request him for a brief comment or remarks on the presentation. Ashok Gurungji, welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you.
Wow, it's good to see you.
Yes. Well, first thing I want to say is thanks to Sunaina, thanks to Dr. Mom Bishwakarma for making our Saturday morning very, very fruitful. I think talking about Dalit feminist early in the morning, a topic that, as everyone can tell, is a very, very dense topic. And what Sunaina did today, is remarkable. You made it, easy to, relate to, easy to understand. So thank you for that. Great presentation. The main point that I wanted to just assert is I think your main argument that when we are trying to understand the story, the situation of Dalit women, the idea of theoretical frame, especially theoretical frame that is very constraining if you only listen to Western
Hello,
or
sir.
hello, can you hear?
ए होइन म
Yes.
यहाँ ट्राई गरिरहेको छु सकिँदै सकिरहेको छैन
Okay, sorry. So what I'm saying is, I think your point that both the Western, a theoretical frame as well as the theoretical frame on gender, issues in South Asia are not adequate. I think that's a very important point. And even though I don't necessarily focus on this in Nepal, but I'm a student of this particular topic, and I can say, I think with fair degree of certainty, that it is true for Nepal as well. I think for Nepali scholars, Nepali friends, to understand the future, the status and the future of Dalit women, I think the Brahmanical patriarchy, the way you have framed it, I think is probably the most important frame that we should better understand. I think it connects to even other commentators who said something about class. I think class is of course very important, but our problem with class in South Asia is both in India and in Nepal, people who study, Marx and class, dimension of issues, they have contributed a great deal, but they, in most cases, fail to recognize, the deeper, connections and issues related to caste dimension. So for Nepali, I think young scholars and friends, I would urge read Dr. Ambedkar, read Muluki Ain, of Nepal, because especially the Ain that was promulgated in 1854, I think, and look at the constitution more closely. Because if you understand that, I think Nepali scholars as well as other South Asian scholars will understand what Sunaina is talking about. The significance of Brahmanical patriarchy is the key frame to really look at debates on and dealing with issues of equal dignity, equal rights for all, especially Dalit women. So Sunaina, thank you very much for a great presentation.
Thank you so much. This is my honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Asuk. I have one more question from participant. What is your personal struggle as a Dalit feminist activist, and what is the attitude of current Indian government towards this issue? It is the question from Sapana.
Sapna. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you can respond now these questions, and then we can get few more questions later.
Okay. So, firstly, I would want to thank Dr. Purna for your warm encouragement. I am really honored. Thank you so much. And you had talked about heterogeneity. So I think, like as you mentioned, as you're working on it, from an intersectional perspective, we can see it and we can resolve the heterogeneity. Uh, so I think that heterogeneity, the problem of heterogeneity and other kinds of inequalities can be addressed through an intersection perspective. So far, that's what I have found in my research. But if and I think another thing which I want to put forward is when it is about a particular person, then that person should have the main voice. So like if it is Dalit feminism, and Dalit feminism is because the Brahmanical patriarchy, which leaves the Dalit woman at the bottom or completely outcasted even from the feminist struggle, then Dalit women should be leading. So in the same way, in the heterogeneity also, whoever is most oppressed, those people should be speaking for themselves and nobody else should be speaking for them. Like we can speak along with them, along with everyone, but not that for anybody. And that is the Brahmanical attitude which actually mainstream feminists uh, show, and also the white feminists, like they speak for everyone, they claim to speak for everyone. So I think these are the two things which can help us, like not speaking for others, and also intersectional perspective in theorizing. So that's what I have come so far in my understanding, and in future I look forward to learning more and also learning from you and learning together. And then on the question of personal struggle, well, that is huge. That is huge to speak about. But I can say that I was born and brought up in a place which was rural, and which was a market area, and it has been bad. Like uh, I have seen Hindu Muslim riots, I have seen murders, I have seen like rapes, and these are the things. And I have gone through some of the sexual abuses myself as a child. And then when I come to the university, like all through school, everywhere we have to face this caste discrimination. So I come to believe that discrimination is actually designed for Dalits in our society. Like if you are a Dalit, you have to face discrimination. There is no escape. So in JNU also, I had I had very bad experiences with Brahmin women who were my roommate, and with the administration who was favoring the Brahmin woman. And there is an SCST cell where I went to resolve my problem, and they didn't do anything about it, nothing. And what was the case is like the Brahmin woman told me that I had cleaned all the room and everything. It was very dirty, like people had vomited over there and all. When I got allotted a new room in my MPhil, and after that, that person comes and just starts staying with her two more friends, and then she starts fighting with me and saying that you take this bed, you take that table, and I was sick by cleaning all of that for a whole day and night. And then her friend didn't come to help me, but as it is clean, then they come. And then I was saying, why are you now telling me to shift or do another changing? I am already very tired and I did all of this. Then she said, well, cleaning is your job. So that kind of that kind of things we keep on getting. And then I went to a conference. It was a national conference, and somebody asked me, what are you? So like I was thinking, what are you means what? I am a scholar. Yes, I am a philosophy student. I am a woman. I am a Dalit woman. After I tell I am a Dalit woman, then what is your caste? That comes to it. So that so I think people are curious about knowing your caste in order to decide in what respect they have to treat us. So do they have to give us respect if we are Brahmins, or do they have to make advantage of us if we are Dalits and Shudras and other marginalized communities like minorities, religious minorities, and tribal people? So these kinds of things keep happening. In fact, my time in America was better. I stayed there almost 1 month, and most of the time I spent with Latin people, and I find a deep connect with them. So I look forward to working with them in future too. And about this, so I think that is enough for now. And later I would be sharing about it in future dialogues as well. And about South-South collaboration and North-South collaboration, I think we need to keep connected and keep working and looking at each other's work and contributions, and also contributing to each other's work, and also keeping that dialogue with genuine aim of resolving the problems, and to coming together to have a better society, and not just for favoring anybody. Like Ambedkar didn't favor women, he just wanted a better society, and that is why he proposed Hindu Code Bill and gave equal rights to women. So that kind of attitude, I think, is necessary, and then the dialogue will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunaina. I'll get a final round question from participants. So there is one question in chat box. Ganesh Biki is asking that please share the Dalit women participation in political parties in India. So Dalit women participation in political parties in India, that is one question from Ganesh. Now, yeah, there are a few hand raised. So can I ask Sita Rosali for her question? In this round, I will ask everyone who have raised their hand.
Much. And it was really great presentation, Sunaina. I was thinking you were quite aged, but you're so young, and how is it possible to be a scholar like you? It's amazing. Keep shining. It's I'm really proud of you, and your presentation and your theory was really clear and really inspiring. I'm really happy to watching you, and I have lots of question. Might not be able to express you clearly, but I just want to know, because Indian Dalit movement and Indian Dalit scholar are quite uh, older than Nepali, and I just wonder that what is the uh, situation of Indian academic area, that like uh, uh, college and university, is there any curriculum based education is happening in terms of caste based system or not? Because in our Nepal, I was the first batch that I I was able to study about Varna system. It was written by Ahuti in master's sociology in second year. So that was our I think our first curriculum. So what is the situation of academic incitement in the colleges or school level, how it is in India? So I was curious about that. So would you able to answer them, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask Keshav Giriji for your question? Keshavji?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Sunaina, for the enlightening presentation. And I'm eagerly looking forward to reading towards a Dalit feminist theory book. Congratulations to you and the team. And this is a huge theoretical undertaking, and you have pulled it off nicely. And especially power to you as a bright young Dalit feminist scholar. So my research also connects to your work. I'm also using intersectional feminist theoretical framework to explore the experiences of women combatants in the Maoist insurgency in Nepal. So the stories, I found that the stories we were hearing did not reflect the stories of those women from lower class, lower caste, from far away remote areas. I have so many questions, but due to time constraint, I will limit to one question. It might be a mix of question and comment. So we need intersectionality to explore the entanglement of different operations and identities. how does it look like in terms of policy response, and how does it look like in actual practice? Is it quota system? Is it other form of affirmative actions? What would the framework look like in implementation? So like Dr. Nirmal Bishwakarma, I would also emphasize that emphasize not to let go of class lens into Dalit feminist analysis. We cannot miss capitalism and the structure of international political economy that sustains class oppression and it amplifies the oppression against Dalit women. And also geography and context. Punaji also briefly mentioned on this earlier in terms of heterogeneity within a Dalit community, because we have different contexts in terms of India. I'm from Nepal, in Nepal. And also there is a different type of operation against Dalit in urban city areas, here in abroad, in developed countries, in South Asian diaspora, and also in remote rural area. There are different type of, different level of sophistication in terms of oppression. So they might be useful vectors of analysis while exploring experience of Dalit women. And also finally, this could be an open question for everyone in the audience. As an upper caste male trying to be an ally to feminist cause or Dalit feminist cause in this case, what would be my role look like in elimination of such type of discriminations? How do I contribute to Dalit feminist movement, but at the same time not abusing my privilege to upstage Dalit feminist scholar or activist? Or how do I use my privilege to fight against the discrimination? Again, thank you for the opportunity to listen to your engaging presentation, and power to you.
Thank you, Dr. Keshav Giriji, for your question and remarks as well. So now I'd like to ask Sajana Tolangi ji. Sajana Tolangi.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mom. And hello, Sunaina. It's really nice to hear your presentation. It's really thought-provoking. And I got a chance to read your article because when I heard that you are doing a presentation, I was really interested to know about your work. And I just got a chance to read one of your articles. And I think this topic is very vague, we cannot understand, our 2 hour, 3 hour sessions about this feminism, Dalit feminism and Brahmanical patriarchy. It's very vague concept. But my question or my remarks is, feminism at the end, most of the times talks about the emancipation from exploitation and oppression. But as you had argued in your article also, that Dalit feminist standpoint is a must to develop an emancipatory feminist theory. In regarding this case, how you be sure that Dalit feminism actually can do so? Because you had also argued that Dalit feminism is the answer of Brahmanical patriarchy. It's not for Dalit, and it's not for Dalit women, or it's not only for Dalit men. So I'm a little bit confused about that. And, and this also raised a question that how this theory, Dalit feminism theory, benefits Dalit women. Because if you argue that intersectional perspective can solve the gender issues rooted in very deep level of the society, still there is a confusion because Dalit women are not able to framed under intersectional framework, because we are saying that it is needed, intersectional framework is needed and it can solve the problem, but Dalit women are not able to adjust, the issues of Dalit women are not, in that framework. So it is a confusion that how, this problem, issue of Dalit women will be solved, and what are the problems, because I think this really is needed. And In another case, in your presentation that you talk about caste and sex work, I argued that what you had said in your presentation, that sex work, you know, one kind of feminist, they argue that sex work is, is a similar job of other professions, like as they get, they give service and they take the money. But in the system of Dalit, it's different, because Dalit women were forced to engage in, sex work. In Nepal, there is a community called Badi community, and they are forced to serve, giving their body and sex from very previous, and they're still doing it. So if feminists say that they has to continue it because they are taking money anyway, I don't argue that. But as a modern feminist, I'm okay with woman who wants to be engaged in sex work and get money. So I think we have to look that also from very caste perspective, as well, as you had also said in article. So I'm just confused about your argument that if Dalit feminism is not for Dalit men or women, then how Dalit women, can benefit it from. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajanaji, for your uh, quick remarks and question as well. Sunaina, there are a few more hand raised by participants for questions. So can you respond this question now, and then we can get one more round of question?
Sure, sure. Um, I had missed one point about the previous one, that how Indian government is taking about it. So like uh, Indian government, because right now it is right wing government, so they are actually making India completely Bhagwa, saffron. So like Ram Janmabhoomi Bhumi is happening, and recently I gave a there was a webinar on amendment of abortion bill. So there they are putting this kind of system where it has become very bureaucratic, and also that the doctors will have the power to decide whether the woman will get the fetus aborted or not. So this kind of paternalistic attitude, and also the system has been made so bureaucratic that there will be a medical board and they will discuss and then they will decide. So in that case, the people who are more marginalized, who don't have social and economic capitals, and also who live in rural areas, mostly those people will not be able to access abortion, and then they might go for the illegal ways. So that kind of, like, through this kind of amendment bill, and also other kinds of activities, like they are also closing reservations. So like at many of the metropolitan cities, even in Delhi, they have scrapped reservation based on caste, and they have introduced only the income based reservation. And also in the reservation system, what they did is like they gave 10% reservation. Within the reservation system, they gave 10% seats to Savarna people. So that has been hugely opposed by broad marginalized people in the country, but that's what the government is doing. So we can say that the government is completely mainstream Savarna Brahmanical, and that's how they are doing it. So about thank you everyone for your questions. And Ganesh ji, you talked about Dalit women participation in political parties. Well, honestly, I do not have a data. I didn't research on it, so I don't know. But through the instances wherever I have read about it, little bit, is like Dalit women's participation in political parties is not much. Like if you ask, one famous Dalit woman politician is Mayawati, that everybody knows. Other than that, there is no one like her who's a Dalit woman, and then she's also being criticized for several reasons. So their participation is less, because also the political parties look for somebody who is strong in the society, who can get them votes. But Dalit woman, nobody cares about them. So that is why I think it's not like very optimistic, positive. Sita ji, thank you so much for your question and appreciation. I feel really honored. Thank you so much. So you mentioned about the caste issues in Indian academia, whether this discourse is being discussed or not. So you might know Professor Sukhdev Thorat, who had been giving talks to this Dalit Lives Matter with Pradeep Pariyarji. Uh, so he had directed this Indian Institute of Dalit Studies, and also through like mostly his scholars like his efforts have actually established centers like Dalit Studies Center and Center for Discrimination and Exclusion Studies. These kinds of centers are there. In the NU also there is a center like that. But with this government, what has happened is like centers like this has got the head or the chief of the department, mostly Savarna. So the control is by them. Even the SC/ST cell, which is there to help the SC/ST students, that is led by Brahmins. So that kind of thing is happening. And yeah, Keshav ji, Dr. Keshav, thank you for your question and encouragement. Stories of women intersectional policy practice. Yeah, so questions. You said that intersectional, how intersectionality will be in the practice. So in the practice, I think yes. First of all, I think that for the cases like Bhamri Devi and also for a recent case like a 8-year-old the Dalit minor was raped recently in I think in last July or in the beginning of August. So in that cases, I think first of all the legal or judicial and legal system has to recognize intersectional perspective and has to encourage intersectional approach. Otherwise, we cannot hope to have deliver justice to each and every citizen of the country. So I think that is one very important thing about the practice, and also at the individual level and also in our writings and whenever we are speaking, we also need to be cautious about how we are excluding some people when we are talking. Like one of my professors, he often used to say everybody knows this, and I used to say, well, not everybody knows this. So who is there in your everybody? So you need to see that, who are we leaving out when we are talking about everybody, everyone. So I think that kind of regular checks that will help us in the practical level, and also of course in every kind of work we do, in activism, in scholarship, in legal procedures, and financial, like economic, corporate, if that's possible, will be great. And men for Dalit feminism, yes, of course. I think because men are heard more in our society, it's better that men talk about gender injustice. Like, please, I really want men to talk about gender justice, because then they will be heard, and they can contribute greatly by recognizing that they are privileged and by trying to contribute to the well-being of the women who are marginalized. And then I come to Sahana ji's questions. Thank you so much, and thank you very much also for your encouragement, and you have read the article on Dalit patriarchy. So I really like your questions, and also these are very important things to reflect upon, like how Dalit feminism is going to help. So as I mentioned that Dalit feminism is not for Dalit women or men. So there I wanted to say that Dalit feminism is not a standpoint which is to favor Dalit people. It is not to favor Dalit people. Like, that is how the mainstream sees that reservation is there to favor the Dalit people. So I am trying to counter that argument and say that Indian society has been historically exploiting Dalit labor and Dalit people, and that is why we need reservation in order to uplift those people who have been always oppressed and suppressed. So it is going to help. Of course, it is going to help Dalit people, but at the same time, it is not to favor them. Like, it is not a special favor for them. It is actually to improve our society. So like the attitude has to be that we are working on this project so that our society can come from here to here, because we are not progressive society, we are not modern society, we are practicing caste, like ancient phenomena, ancient practices of caste, like you know like untouchability, pollution, purity, all these kinds of things which is not rational, which is not reasonable, these are being practiced. So that is why we need our society to make it progressive, make it modern, make it better for everybody, and that is why we want Dalit feminist standpoint. But at the same time, the I'm just talking about the attitude. The attitude shouldn't be that okay, Dalit feminist is to favor these people, and it is not for everyone. So that is my take on it. And on sex work, thank you so much for telling me about this Badi community in Nepal. I was not aware about it. And about the sex work, yes, I agree with your point, but at the same time, like you mentioned that you are also okay with if somebody wants to go into that profession. Yes, I would also say that is fine, but if it is their choice, their complete choice, uh, considering all the other aspects, like they are okay with that. And then at the same time, we also have to see that in our society it can never be a choice, because other women, like women who are not sex workers, also degrade and demean and look down upon the sex workers, so-called sex workers. So even if they are going saying that we are doing it with choice, still they are being degraded. So I think this is a sensitive issue and we need to think carefully about it. Like if we are trying to call it a choice, then there will be some problems as well involved. Yeah, thank you. I think I've answered all the questions. Dr. Mom.
Sorry, Dr. Mohammed, he has some technical issues, so he's joining soon. So if there is any other participant they want to, I think Man Sirpaili or and RDW, they have raised their hand. So could you please ask your question to Sunaina? Man Sirpaili ji, unmute your mic. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sunaina, for making this morning more productive. Though it is weekend in Nepal, maybe it's the same in India.
Yes.
So, yeah, you have presented and slightly discussed on the Dalit women's are like forced in sexual kind of occupation, that is prostitutions. So they
Yes.
have been like exploited sexually. But I'm more curious about what is the Dalit women's standpoint to have a some paradigm shift in traditional occupation so that Dalit women can have engaged in the such a occupation and that gives them the decent job as well as dignified life. The another question, the discussion around you also, I found that the choices, the choices to be engaged in sexual job, that maybe because of lack of awareness and then social power dimension of the society, some of the women can choose that occupation. But ultimately, that if that doesn't give us the dignity and decent jobs, uh, does it matter this is a personal human rights or this is how do you like interpret those things?
Thank you, Manji. There is one more participant who has been raising his or her hand. It's from RDW. So can you ask your question, RDW? Because I cannot identify the name. Maybe there is no one, or cannot hear us. So Sunaina, sorry for my technical error. You can respond the question is Manji or other participant who raised the question during my interruption, internet interruption. So now you can respond.
Thank you, Manji, for your question. You talked about Dalit women's standpoint in for a paradigm shift. So I would want to mention that many of the Dalit women actually they do not have the resources, and most of them are not, educated. If we see our country, uh, like my own mom, she is illiterate. She has never been to school. So in the rural area, most of India is rural, and in the rural area, education system is very bad, and also the generation, like older generation is not educated, and even present generation, they are not sending their daughters for education to school. That kind of thing is there, and that is why when they are not educated, then awareness is very difficult, and when there is no awareness, then there is no assertion, and when there is no assertion, then that aspiration for a paradigm shift gets very difficult. But still, uh, fortunately, many of the Dalit women have been, contributors to Ambedkarite struggle and also to Dalit struggle. That also comes from mostly, South India, like the Periyar and Phule and Ambedkar. Because of their legacy, there are women, Dalit women, who are active and assertive. But in North India, it is not in that way. In North India, there are some people who are associated with this Mayawati's political organization. They are little assertive about the caste question, but on gender, not that much. But the South Indians and the Marathi women, they are actually assertive about gender and caste both. So paradigm shift, we are demanding the people who are in academia and who have some privilege, they are actually demanding for different kind of, like the debates have been created on the caste issue. That is because of their efforts and their will. So that is one. And on the dignity question, yes, uh, I think you see what I have to say, that unless and until there is dignity in one profession, we cannot call it a profession. So when there is no dignity, then how can we call it a profession? So of course that is, and we see also the facts, right? The survey reports exhibit that most of the people involved in so-called sex work are actually Dalit women and some Muslim women, the so-called lower caste Muslim women who come from poor families and they live in slums, and that kind of people are involved in the sex work, not like the traditional professional sex work. Not in about the hookups. I'm not talking about hookups. People who are regarded as sex workers, they come from those kind of communities. So the caste and the, of course, the class, and also the marginalization, other aspects of marginalization like tribes and minorities, those kind of things we have to consider when we are speaking about sex work. And I think that is also because of the technical understanding in the mainstream. So whoever is not following that kind of understanding, and whoever is not doing that kind of lifestyle, they are put aside and then they are pushed into some kind of work.
Thank you, Sunena. I have one more question from Raji Lakshmi Groom. She has written that, can you shed some more light on methodology part, like how a Brahmin researcher can capture lived experience of Dalit women? And she has asked you to reflect your experience. In Nepal, and I am assuming in India as well, many Dalit researchers find it difficult to do social research as it hinder their access to Brahmin slash Kshatri community, even Janjati community. Can you reflect on it? So this is a question from Rajalasmi Guru. Do you like to respond now?
Yeah, sure.
Probably it is the last question.
Yeah, thank you, Raj Lakshmi ji. It is very important and very pertinent question when we are working on theorizing gender or theorizing caste, uh, and or theorizing anything like methodology. So that I am still working on it, which I hope to develop in my PhD thesis, which will be submitted next year. So when I said that a Brahmin woman can articulate a Dalit feminist standpoint, then I want to keep the space open as a possibility, because that is a logical way to go about it. But at the same time, we don't know other, Brahmin women who work like that, like her, and with no other problems created. So, like, in fact, I think almost in every Savarna woman's articulation, uh, so far, like who's very famous, I have read that these kind of othering of Dalit feminism, or some kind or the other kind of, looking down upon Dalit woman, Dalit, or being having a paternalistic attitude, that kind of attitude has been found. So considering that, we cannot really say that yes, this is the standard that they will theorize, because they had always been doing that. So this is just a logical possibility which we need to be open about. But at the same time, Dalit woman's experience, lived experience, is also crucial, uh, because lived experience gives the philosophical vantage, that yes, this is the reality and this is how we experience this particular phenomena which is in our society. And because, like, the bottom up approach, this person is observing something at this level, then we have to create theory from here to here, and not the top down approach, which generally happens in the mainstream articulation for theorizing anything. Like a white person will see the things from here and will say, yeah, case, race is in captured, race, class is in captured, gender is in captured here and here, but they are not seeing the reality on the ground. So from the ground we have to start, and then think about what will capture it perfectly. So, like as Professor Ashok Gurung mentioned, that Brahmanical patriarchy is the framework in which we have to think about theorizing gender, because any kind of theory, any kind of activism also, it is in response to resolve some kind of problem. Like Marxism was for capitalism, and anti-racism is also for racism. In the same way, anti-caste is because there was caste, and then feminism is because there is patriarchy. So because there is patriarchy, we need feminism, but feminism is functioning in such a way in India specifically that even I have called it Brahmanical feminism. So it is even, demeaning and oppressing Dalit women so much that, one of the Dalit feminists, Cynthia Stephen, had called, he has argued that we are not going to use the term feminism because feminism itself is so oppressive. So we are going to use the term Dalit womanism. So that kind of oppression is there up to this extent that we, many of us tend to leave the feminist discourse itself because it is so oppressive and in a Brahmanical nature. So that's what we have to consider, and that is why Dalit lived experience is very important. But also, I think this work has to be at two levels. Like, one is like Dalit women's work, their engagement, their assertion, their writing, they have to be encouraged to write and to engage and discuss and deliberate and speak for themselves, speak about their family, their experience, and fellow Dalit women. And the second level is also that we need to enhance our our political, legal, and pedagogical resources to such a level that it can reach and empower Dalit women. So that kind of approach we need to adopt. So that is what my perspective is. And about, and also one more point which I think at like now, which I stand for, is when a Brahmin woman or a Savarna woman is speaking, or a Savarna man is speaking, and is in contradiction with a Dalit woman, then the Dalit woman's experience and her voice should be actually heard than the person who's privileged. So priority and that kind of thing, but at the same time there will be problems, like what kind of ideology that the person has. Like many of the right wing women are actually more patriarchal than Ambedkarite man. So those things will also be there, but at the same time, that is why we need to empower Dalit women for their assertion and education, and power, for assertion, education, collaboration, and contribution. And at the same time, we also have to regularly check with the appropriation which is happening, and we have to make policies or extend our resources in such a manner that that can help Dalit women and other non-men people who are most marginalized. So that is my methodology right now, and I am working on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sunaina Arya, for your response and in-depth presentation as well. Now I'd like to conclude this discussion because there are no more questions from participants. Even if there are, then we are not able to take more because we have already spent almost 2 hours for this discussion on Dalit feminist theory. As most of the participants and even you have already highlighted that the topic itself is very big, and yeah, it takes more time, and it is not possible to discuss within 2 hours all those aspects of theory and intersectionality. As you have already noted that women are suppressed by the patriarchal society globally, and more specifically in South Asia, because the caste and patriarchy intersect to each other and is indeed deeply indeed embedded in social structure. So the unique feature of patriarchy society in South Asia is Brahminical patriarchy, as you have clearly mentioned in your presentation, and other participants also highlighted that specific term. With this statement, I'd like to conclude the discussion today in terms of Dalit feminist theory, and I hope that this discussion go further, not only here, but also in Nepalese context and other South Asian contexts. And I hope that there will be enhanced collaboration in between you and other feminist scholar in Nepal in future, so that there will be opportunity to research on the specific aspects of Dalit women and feminist theory as well. Thank you, Sunaina, for your deeper analysis and presentation today, and your time as well. And I'm really grateful to all the participants who have given time for this discussion, and even raised so many good questions and critical aspects of the Dalit feminist theory. So thank you all. Namaste. Now I'm going to stop the live program from YouTube. Thank you.